Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. All things Middle Earth here with a video on some information we have on the new campaign, the Rangers Rise campaign. We have this video from the devs, as well as a few posts in the Discord. They are very famous for cryptically giving out information, so I feel like it's kind of difficult to piece together what this actually is going to look like. So I'm going to kind of cut through the BS in this video. In the past, we've done kind of satirical, like, in this video, for example, that's like a video interview thing, and I would have like put myself in the interview with them and kind of had some fun with it. I was like, you know what? Let's try and get like the facts out there first, then we'll have fun later. So this video is just going to be as informational as possible, going through and kind of taking what we have here and putting it in bullet point form, as well as what we've had in the Discord, to kind of explain what we can expect. And then hopefully we get more information very shortly that kind of answers the questions we have, or kind of shows us the direction they're wanting to go in with these things that we're not sure on. So anyway, we're going to try and keep this as short and sweet as possible. So let's go ahead and jump into the video. Okay, so like I said, we're going with, bullet point format here. I've just got some slides with text. This is just taken from the video and from the posts in the Discord. So I'll link all that stuff down below if you want to look through it yourself. But this is kind of the compilation of what we have so far and what things I think are for sure. So the biggest thing I want to talk about is the Lords and Rangers feature that's going to be in this campaign. You're going to start the campaign out as a Ranger, and then you'll be able to become a Lord. And once you become a Lord, it sounds like the game is basically how we know it. You have a city, you upgrade it, you build troops. The end goal is still to take the ring. So it sounds like the mid to end game of this campaign is still the same as everything else we've seen in terms of our standard gameplay. But it's the early game that's going to be changing in terms of starting as a Ranger and what those Rangers can do. So I want to talk about that. I do think this is a really good thing, because one of my complaints has been that I feel like they just keep trying to slow down the early game, not necessarily add content to the end game or like other things for us to do. They're just like trying to slow things down. This is actual content being added to the game. This is kind of what we've been asking for. It's just at the early side, not necessarily at the late end. So I would still love to see later different in-game content, but if they're actually adding meaningful stuff to the beginning that doesn't slow it down, but just adds more to do so, in turn like makes the seasons longer, I'm fine with that. But again, it just depends on how this all ends up playing out, because I think there's some potential here, but there's some things I'm concerned about. So anyway, you're going to start out as a Ranger, and there are going to be 12 factions to choose from. My thought is we might see a couple of new factions when the season comes out, and they're going to rotate out some older ones. And I think what I think would be very cool is if they ended up having like 16 to 20 factions that rotated in a cycle of 10 to 12 or whatever it is. So there's kind of a variety as seasons come out, or as just time goes on, where there's just certain rotations of factions that are in or not in that kind of can get revamped or rebooted to be more exciting to play with. But we're going to have 12 factions to choose from, and the map is going to be the same as the Rings of Power campaign map, which has the expanded south section of the map. Number one for Rangers. Rangers are going to be able to control fewer commanders than you would normally be able to control really as many commanders as you want to. Kind of like in non-role play, when you're playing as good, for example, you're playing as Lothlorien and you want to use evil commanders, you could upgrade your ring to control up to 10 evil commanders when playing as a good faction in non-role play. I think it's going to be something like that, where you just have a somewhat limited amount of commanders you can control. We don't know what the number is, but hopefully it's not 3. I just don't think it's going to be you have access to everybody. You have to be kind of strategic about who you can use and control. Instead of having a city, Rangers are going to have a tent and a cart. The differences here in terms of the tent and cart is that you can move the tent and cart around the map every 12 hours, as opposed to moving your city around the map every 3 days. So I think they want things to be a little bit more mobile, like more exploration, being in areas for shorter periods of time, as opposed to cities where you kind of have to get set for 3 days and then plan to move somewhere else. Normally, when you start a season, you'd be taking tiles, getting resources, and that is your main, income is just like the different resources we have in the game. For Rangers, we're not going to have that happening. You're going to have gold as the primary resource used to hire troops to use on your commanders. There will also be no apothecary for Rangers because we don't have a city. So when you finish a battle, there are no troops that go to the apothecary. They'll just be instantly healed, the ones that are wounded, but there will be a higher mortality rate. So there won't be anywhere for them to go, but you'll lose more of them. So there's kind of pros and cons there. You just can keep going for a little bit longer, but the mortality is higher. So again, just the reality of not having a city. So it's kind of an interesting feature here. Something else very interesting is the addition of deputy commanders that can be used by Rangers. This is going to allow you to use a secondary commander with a main commander, and you get the benefits of their title skills. So for example, if you want to use Kamul with witching, and which is the example they shared, you get the benefits from all the titles that Kamul has, not all of the sub skills. So you're gonna have to try and find interesting pairs of commanders that whose secondary commanders titles work well with main commander. I think this sounds really cool and is a way to bypass the fact that you'll have lower command on your commanders because you don't have a city, you don't have military academy, so you can use less troops. So you're making the commanders a bit more powerful, making the army more powerful, which makes sense. I just hope this doesn't really reinforce the current meta, because I think what we need is to kind of expand and make bad commanders better, not just keep nerfing commanders or adding new overpowered commanders. So my worry is that now people are just going to be running better Witch Kings, better Sun-Ins, better Gil, Galad, whoever it is, just running like super versions of commanders who are already in the meta. So I'm hoping there are some limitations or things that make other commanders who are maybe not as relevant more relevant to use, but we'll find out once we get more information on the deputy feature. As a side note, this will not be available for lords, so once you become a lord, you will not be able to use the deputy feature and use a second commander. There will also be a prestige ranking based on influence. Now, I don't understand every detail about this. This is a screenshot they showed us where it looks almost like you're going to like gather on a grid of tiles, and it says down at the bottom you're going to gain an estimated amount of prestige. So based on your exploration and your other things you do as a ranger, you get this prestige ranking, which sounds different from like normal prestige that you actually get in battles. But either way, there's a prestige ranking that you get as a ranger, and there are ranger ranks, these ones right here, S, 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 SS, and S, and then A, B, C, D, E, and F in terms of the rankings we have available for us. So kind of cool to see how the other players in your server are doing in terms of their influence as rangers. Now it'll just depend on what things are actually tracked for this, if it's actually interesting or if it's just like who farms the best. But these are the ranger ranks. One of the requirements to get a city and become a lord is to be ranger rank A, but it sounds like you could choose to continue to be a ranger for as long as you like and rank up very highly if you'd like. But again, those are the ranks we're going to have for the rangers. Like I said, you need rank A to become a lord. The other thing, they've given us a few explanations of how this could look, so I'm not 100% sure on this, and I would love to see like actual in-game examples of this. But they talk about needing to control a ruins and then rebuild a city. So if I had to guess right now with what we have, I would say something like having enough of an army to take over a ruins, which is kind of like a staging area or a way to become a little bit more powerful as a ranger, to then with a ruins rebuild a city. They do mention cities being controlled by NPCs and leveling up. So it sounds like when you get a city, they won't just be at level 0 or level 1 for everything. They'll be somewhat leveled. So you're not just starting like at nothing. But again, the goal is to get to rank A and take over a city and become a lord. The details on how exactly that look are a little fuzzy. And so again, my only gripe is kind of like, I would love to, I like that they kind of get into the character and like trying to make things fun, but I think the crypticness or the thematicness they're trying to do is coming at the expense of information. So I'd like to see more factual, just like give us a list of what's happening and give us some screenshots or videos of what happens in game. I think I'd prefer that a lot more than the kind of gimmicky stuff, but that's just me. I like them getting into it. I do respect that they're willing to do that, but I would like just more clear information. So if the clear information can't happen in the current format with like the Revelation channel, with the puzzles and those things, I just kind of like to scrap those and say, can we just get like a video of like, here's the process of becoming a lord when you're a ranger? I think that'd be very nice. But again, that's some information on becoming a lord. There's going to be an area, this secret tavern that rangers can sell intel for gold, and it actually sounds like when you're a lord, you can get and use that intel from rangers. So it talks about being able to hire up to 2 rangers. Again, you can see on the screen, this is what the interface looks like. We just don't have a lot of information to really speculate on what this will exactly look like, but it sounds like it will be a way for rangers to interact with lords. There'll be limitations on how much you can do, and I don't know what the benefit is for a lord like gaining intel. But again, this is something I'd like to see more information on in the future. You can become a ranger again after becoming a lord, either by losing your city, which would be, I think, similar to being like uprooted, or I believe there is an option just to like surrender your status as lord. So if you really end up liking the ranger feature and want to play that way for the whole season, you can. But I don't know how that limits you in terms of being able to play with a group or like actually get to the end game and do that. So we'll have to see exactly what that looks like, but you can go back to being a ranger after you become a lord. There will also be mercenaries you can hire. We don't know a lot about this either. It just mentioned like there's kind of a post. It was like, are you tired of having to like fight all your battles? Like hire a mercenary to take care of stuff for you. That's all they really said. So I think it might be in the same page as the secret tavern, and you could pay gold or do something to have. I would assume this mercenary would be some kind of an AI controlled like mob type thing that would go and clean up certain areas or do things or launch attacks, whatever it is. Could be interesting. Don't have enough to know about it, so we're just kind of looking at the facts and saying, hey, we'll be able to hire mercenaries. What that means, we don't know for sure. There are also going to be neutral camps you can capture to get access to more troops. as a ranger, but you're going to be limited to capturing 2 camps, it sounds like, but you can drop them. So again, you might capture 2, like a sentinel camp that gives you the sentinels and the bow knights, for example, but not want to use those anymore, or you may not like them, and so you can drop those and collect other ones. But in addition to hiring with gold, you should be able to, I believe, use neutral camps to hire or train up more troops. So kind of interesting. It seems like it's going to be kind of limiting, which I don't love. Like the Rings of Power campaign I like a lot, except for the fact that everything is so heavy on the hiring queues. So just the potential for things being very bottlenecked in terms of the troops you want to get is kind of concerning, but we'll see how that actually ends up playing out. And they've talked a lot about the story quests we're going to have. It says there are 28 plus Lord quests and 10 plus Ranger quests. I don't know what that means when they say quest, if that's just like, go here and do this thing, like, and, you know, click the explore button, or if there's actual things that take place, like a campaign or story, like that you're playing through that actually has impact on the server. Again, if something like this is done really well, it could make the longevity of the season very enjoyable when there's actual story that you're playing through and it's necessary. But if it's just like march over here and click this button 28 plus times, that's going to get old. So hopefully this goes well and it's thought through and not just like, we'll give out a little bit of rewards for marching from point A to point B kind of stuff. So again, there are story quests that they seem to be excited about, but we'll see what those end up entailing. And last but not least, the end game is still going to be the same. I mentioned this before, but they did confirm this right here up on the screen. So I'm fine with them adjusting the early game. I think I would long-term like to see them also have variations for different things to do at the end of the game other than just taking the ring. But it does seem like they're putting a lot of time and effort into what the beginning of the season is going to look like, which I'm all for. So again, we don't have a ton of information. Obviously, a lot of this is speculation or just like very, very beginning, you know, fact on what things are going to be, but we don't know exactly how the mechanics will work. So we're just going to keep making videos like this as information comes out. When the new season comes out, we're going to be playing probably on an alt account first to just get in there and test and see live what all these features look like. But obviously, let me know if you guys have any questions or if you have more information or if I missed anything major. But I tried to kind of just simplify it and take the actual facts or things they stated and include that here. So hopefully you guys found this video helpful. Let me know if you're excited for this campaign, you're not excited, you're not going to try it, you're going to try it, whatever it is. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. But that's going to do it for me in this video. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.